People would come up to me and say, man, you helped change my life. And that was unheard of for another inmate to, to tell another inmate, you changed my life, I was born into a broken family. As far as I could think back, I remember a lot of arguing, a lot of commotions in the house. We never had a lot of money. I remember my mom, she used to work. She used to always have a job, but she used to also have a drug addiction. That really affected us because instead of spending money, she didn't spend it on the household, she would spend it on drugs, or she would trade the food stamps for money, to buy drugs, So it was times we would go 3 to 4 days out the week without eating. Me and my sister was eventually abandoned and left somewhere. And, just always being in trouble and getting punished for something, it kind of always made me feel like as a teenager, am I doing something right, or it always made me second guess myself. So I was placed in foster care. It was place to place again, so I was never really situated. But I'm still gonna keep fighting now. So instead of stopping, I'm just gonna slow it down or modify it if you have to. We missed so many meals growing up. That really affected me as a child, It's one of the worst feelings that I have ever felt. You go to sleep just to dream about food. You eat out of a trash can, or you're knocking on people's doors and begging for a loaf of bread. I begged for so many loaves of bread. In one of my neighborhoods, they would call me the bread man. Here comes the bread man. So when I did go to foster care, I think I would overeat because the food was there, but I think I would overeat just in case, just to kind of make up for the meals I missed, and I would just eat and eat and eat, kind of like when my mom did finally go to the grocery stores, when she brought those groceries in, we just ate everything because, we was making up for the meals we missed, and then, it wasn't no telling when we would eat again, Everybody step outside. 30 seconds. One of the things I learned from almost everybody I was around was excuses. Everybody made excuses. Whether it was my dad, I'm gonna call you, I'm gonna come visit you, and never come. Whether it was my mom, I'm going out, you guys, I'm bringing groceries back, make a list of what you want, and coming back with excuses, I adopted that pattern, I adopted that habit, and I made excuses for everything. I couldn't keep a job. I wouldn't keep a job more than 3 months, no matter how good of a job it was. I walked out of the GED room because, I made the excuse that I didn't have time for this, so everything was excuses and about me blaming other people. So, I never finished anything. Keep pushing. Nice. 2 bills. That means we're done with that. All right. Good job. Amazing. Money was an issue, not only was I taking care of my kids and my kids' mother, I was also helping my mother, my sister, my little brothers, so money was a big problem. I didn't have any of the things that I wanted. I just made the excuse that, I have all the right to go take something from somebody else. For me and my girlfriend was arguing at the time over money, about money, about our situation. I said, okay, I'm gonna show you how much of a man I am, and I went and I robbed a convenience store. It took about a couple of months for me to realize that I wasn't bonding out of jail. Nobody had that type of money to do that, so I would have to sit. It finally just set in on me like, man, you know what? I just really effed my life up. I just screwed up. I'm going away for a long time. 2nd degree assault, felonious restraints. I was looking at 30 years in prison. So I was like, wow, you know, coming from where I came from, and you know, I really didn't accomplish anything. You know, my greatest accomplishment was my son and my daughter. You know, I was stubborn. I wouldn't take 30. I wouldn't take the 15. So finally, they said, okay, will you take? If we offer you, give you 10 years, will you take that and go? So it was called the 10 and go. You know, that's what my lawyer came back and said to me. And, you know, it's crazy because 10 years, that's a decade, that's a long time. And, you know, I remember being happy just to get 10 years, like going back to my pod and celebrating because I got 10 years, you know, 10 years of my life that I would lose. But here I was happy just not to have 30 years. It wasn't hard for me to adjust. I have been around people like this my whole life. You know, I have been in a lot of situations where I had to defend myself, where I didn't have money. I had to miss meals because in this certain situation, we was given 3 meals a day, so I was still better off than a lot of people. Biggest adjustment was having to accept the fact that, you know, I didn't have control not only on my situation in prison, but I didn't have no control over what happened outside of prison. I didn't have no control over what my girlfriend did, you know, who she had around my kids, and you know, it really drove me crazy. I became really depressed just because I didn't have any control over anything. I was only focused on my situation. I didn't care about anybody. I ran a few people away that did care about me doing that, and I think that was my lowest point because, you know, I really did believe that it was everyone else's fault. I met some guys that was older than me, and they became like teachers and role models. You know, I never had a father figure. The person I looked up to the most, my older brother. You know, he ended up going on the run for 10 years because he committed a crime. So he was removed from my life. I was hard-headed, but they would, you know, say things here and there, or you know, do things. Bring me, give me a book, have an influence on what I needed to be concentrating on. You know, I made up my mind that, you know, I was going to get my GED, so when I got out, I can go to college and I can create a better life for my daughter, for my son as well. You know, I didn't want to be a failure anymore, and she made me didn't want to be a failure even for myself. You know, so. It would take a lot of guys in prison a year or two, sometimes years and years to get their GED. I made every day about studying and getting this and accomplishing this. I got my GED within 2 months, and it really, you know, it took a lot of weight off my shoulders that I was able to, you know, because now I say, okay, now it's a little window open, you know, an opportunity for me, because without that GED, without that certificate, it was a lot of doors that was closed to me, even if I did want to take advantage of those opportunities, you know. So it's the first thing I could think of that was hard and difficult that I stuck with and I finished and I succeeded at. It opened my mind up to, okay, if I could do this, what else can I do? At the time I was over 200 pounds, so you know, I wanted to change that. I started working out. That was my next mission, was to get myself in shape. I was really unfit, you know, so it took a while for me to actually stick to a workout program, or to be able to, I work out with guys and they would try to have me lift stuff I couldn't lift, you know, or do pull-ups and do exercises I couldn't do, so it was discouraging, you know. But I guess each time I went back, you know, I was able to do a little more. We didn't have recreation every day. We weren't allowed to go to the gym every day, so like push-ups was the main workout that you could do every day. So I would do push-ups every day, and it got up to the point to where, I started off maybe doing 100 and struggling to do that, and I did them so much that it would become 1,000 push-ups, and then I would do maybe 1,000 push-ups in one recreational period, and then come back out later on and do 1,000 more, and my chest started to stick out. I started seeing, wow, that kind of looks good, and started walking different. I was actually one of the guys who worked out now. So I went from 200 some pounds to 180, and I felt good, I looked good. I was really at this point taking fitness seriously, so it was something I got up, it was on my mind, it was something I went and did, and it was something I planned out for the next day. So when people see me, they knew I was going to go work out. So it felt good to be doing something that not everybody in prison doesn't work out either. So it's a misconception. A lot of people, when they go to prison, they gain weight because only thing they have to do is eat. So I was a part of that percentage that did take care of themselves. Everything in prison is about doing it right. If you're not doing it right, there's no sense of doing it. So just because it's not like out here where you could do the insanity video and do the modified version of it. No, it's none of that. If you do this in here, this is gonna count as you're not doing it. So you have to do it. So I was scared to death to do that. I was like, I'm not doing that. So finally, I signed up for it, and the Insanity program is a 2-month program, HIT program, high intensity interval training program, and we did the fit test, and this fit test showed me that, I had not been working out. I had been lifting weights, but I had not been working out because I almost died doing this fit test. I was about to quit, and a couple of other people no, don't quit. You need to stay in there. You was talking all that stuff. Because it was a challenge, I would work on those exercises outside of that class. So I would go do that in the morning. I would still do my workout routine, and then at nighttime, I would do all those cardio exercises and more. So I was on a mission now to be the best, and it took my fitness to another level. And before that program was over, I had dropped down from 180 to about 165, and for the first time in my life, I had a six-pack. It was no denying it. It was pull my shirt up, that's a six-pack.
Speed it up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I was the first person incarcerated asked to come up with my own fitness program. I would start with a group of 50 of my fellow inmates, and maybe end with 10 people who had lasted for the 10 months. So, that became a challenge for other inmates. We were all the same. The people who stuck with it, even some of the people who dropped out of it, they had a new respect for it, and they were incorporated into their workout. But for the people who stuck with it, I saw a change in their attitude as well. It was crazy. I went from having a restriction on everything that I could do for having no limits. Some people thought I was crazy. He said he's gonna do this, or he's talking about this, he's crazy. Guards thought I was crazy. I told one guard, you're gonna see me on TV one day. He said, for what? On cops running from the police. And I told him mark my words, but it's other people started thinking like that who was doing these classes. They stopped placing limits on themselves. People would come up to me and say, man, you helped change my life, and that was unheard of for another inmate to tell another inmate, you changed my life. One of my closest friends, he was white, and he had a swastika on his arm, so when he finished his class, he didn't have that attitude. The people in his class it was a mixture of black and white. They was brothers now, so because they had struggled together, they was brothers, and you would see them eating on it, working out together on the yard, and if you ate with somebody in prison, that was your friend, that was your brother. So now, you know, we was making meals together, so, you know, we was family, you know, and it was crazy that just this workout, this fitness and this workout and these classes was the reason for these bonds and these changes, and for seeing just the whole atmosphere of prison change.
Pick your station, and we're gonna do each one for a minute. Don't try to hide it. Don't try to rub it in.
The day I got out, like, it was like the first winter storm. A lot of people were excited that, okay, here Cory's getting out. Even the people that turn their back on you when you get out, you know, they want to come back around, you know. But here I was broke. I had maybe not even $100 on a card that they gave me when I was released from prison that I had saved. That was on my account left over from what I didn't spend. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna use that to get me a phone. And so that's what that went towards. But that's all I had was these clothes on my back, and I had nowhere to go. Finally got a hold of one of my friends, and he was like, man, where you at? You know, he's like, I'm saying to somebody to come get you right now. He was in the middle of making a song. He was like, man, you can stay in my studio. He had another side that he hadn't started working on yet. So, you know, I slept in the studio. I was homeless, you know, and if it wasn't for him, you know, I would have slept outside at night. I didn't have enough money after I got my phone to to even get a hotel, you know. So I was ass out of luck. I was out there, you know. I would get up, I would go to the Arc, or I would go to some gym. That was the main one because they had a shower. So I would go there, I would work out. Then I was like, man, I gotta make money. I got expenses. I need a car. I need somewhere to stay. I need clothes, you know. So a lot of people was following me on Facebook, and everybody was hitting me up, man, you need to train us. How much would you charge to train me one-on-one? I said, okay, this is how I'm gonna make some money, you know. So I started working with people one-on-one, and bam, my business started. I needed a name for it, you know. I looked at it long and hard and said, you know what? Relating exercise and life, and that's what I'm doing. Use fitness to change people's lives. It was hard because nobody would let me train at their gym. Just came home from prison. No, you're not working here. I couldn't get on as a trainer anywhere, so that was discouraging, you know, not being able to do something I was passionate about. I even got kicked out of a few gyms because I would take clients there. They was like, you can't, it's against the law to train here. I would go to some of my clients' house and train them. Eventually, you know, I said, I need to give me a building if nobody's going to let me train here. So if I thought not getting hired on at somebody's gym was hard, getting a building was like 10 times harder. It was like, no, we're not giving you a building. You just got out of prison. Not only do you not have credit history, you have no rental history, you know, you have no proof of income that you could pay for this building. Get the hell out of here. It wasn't an option for me. It was a life or death situation. You do this or you end up back in the same situation where you was at. It was easier for me because my entire life, you know, I had risked my life and my freedom for nothing. So what was it for me to risk my time and energy and the little bit of money I did have on being successful? It's nothing like having a vision. And you know, I finally met a guy and sat down with him and explained to him my vision, and I explained to him just a little more. You know, we met about for an hour the next day, and he said, you know what, I'm gonna get you a key today, you know. And in the process, mind you, that I didn't even have a home yet. You know, I had a building to operate, to turn into my gym before I even had a vehicle, a building, a driver license, anything, you know. I had got my building, you know, so, you know, right there, you know, I said, you know what, I did what I said I was gonna do, you know. At that point, I was successful, even though in reality, you know, all I had was a business license, a few clients in the building. You know, I was successful because I had done more than anybody in my family had ever done. Yes, I've already relocated once. Asked to speak on several engagements. I was selected to be on the board of a business of another company. I've been on the radio, several articles in the newspapers. Went from being told that nobody wanted to work out, and today working on figuring out how to train people online so I can take even more clients. The director of YMCA in Ashland, Missouri, he said, "Wow, you have an app? That's crazy." I say, "Wow, I do have an app. That is crazy." I barely even know what an app is, but I have one. I had a client the other day and we was doing box jumps. When it came time for us to do the amount of reps she was supposed to do in that box jump, she couldn't do it, so I had to pull out a smaller box, and she did that with no problem, you know. And I explained to her that that little box was just an obstacle that would help her overcome even greater obstacles, which was the next size box, and she did it, you know. So everything I have been through in my life has been a tool for me to overcome the things that I needed to overcome to be successful. So if I was able to go back and give myself advice when I was 15, I would say look man, just, you know, endure it and be grateful for the opportunity to, you know, to struggle, you know, be grateful to, you know, to experience pain, you know, because one day that struggle and that pain is going to be the same thing that allows you to, you know, to change, to see, to see results, you know. And, you know, just like I tell my clients, you know, you without experiencing pain, you can't experience growth. That's why you hear guys in the gym say, no pain, no gain, you know. And that's real. That's the same thing in life. It dawned on me that, you know, I just broke a cycle. I really did just break a cycle that has hunted my family for generations, you know. I broke that cycle, you know, and I broke that for my son, you know. He was born into this world, and, you know, he's free of those chains that has, you know, held us back. Everybody in my family who has failed and not succeeded, those chains don't exist no more. So he's born free. He's born with no limits, you know.